You've probably heard the quote, "Music is the universal language of mankind." But what does this look like for the 28 million Americans considered deaf or hard of hearing? How do they enjoy a concert when there are no American Sign Language interpreters or assisted listening devices provided? Currently on screen is a video playing of a concert without any audio. What about the 3.3 million Americans who are blind or have low vision? How do they enjoy visual art when there are no proper accommodations in place? Currently on screen is a blurry photo of A Star Wars Night by Matthew Trupia. How are individuals who are blind let in on the joke in a play or movie if there are no audio describers to inform them what's happening in the scene? I'm about to play a video without any visual, just a black screen.
And then I was like, I tried to walk away and I was like...
About 1 in 5 Americans have a disability. And yet, as the largest minority group in our country, individuals with disabilities have to continuously fight for their right to access. Although the Americans with Disabilities Act ensures access not only environmentally, but also programmatically, many arts agencies are just not aware of how to provide the necessary accommodations. My work as a musician and recreation therapist led me to ask the question, how can we make the arts more accessible? There are several ways that arts agencies can provide access to allow for a greater patron base. Audio description is a service designed for individuals who are blind or have low vision. An audio describer describes the action that's occurring on stage in between the lines of an actor's dialogue. Designed not only for theater, audio description can be utilized for movies, TV, dance, and visual art. American Sign Language performances using interpreters or actors on stage, open captioning, and assisted listening devices are all accommodations utilized to assist patrons who are deaf or hard of hearing. Open captioning is a universally designed service that displays scrolling dialogue as it's spoken or sung. Aiding not only the deaf community, open captioning is great for people who just might have missed a word in the performance. Assisted listening devices are pieces of specialized equipment that can be utilized with a hearing aid or a cochlear implant, and they work by improving the reception of speech while filtering out background noise. While there are so many wonderful ways to provide accommodations, there's simply not enough opportunities for the 56.7 million Americans with disabilities to engage in community arts programming. The beauty of the arts is it's always an age-appropriate leisure interest. You can't age out of dance or drama, yet there's an overwhelming amount of barriers faced by the community, like lack of accessible transportation, financial issues, lack of accessible environments, and an overall lack of societal awareness for the needs of this population. Many of my friends can't even attend a performance because either the accessible bus doesn't pick up after 10 o'clock or the theater is not on the bus route. On top of that, theaters typically only provide one accessible performance during an entire run of a show, which means if you need the American Sign Language interpreted version of Mamma Mia, you better hope you can go Thursday at 7, or else you aren't going. Recently, my friend Alyssa, who utilizes a power wheelchair, attended the musical Heathers. When she approached the theater, she faced her first barrier: stairs. While her friends took the stairs, Alyssa went around the side of the building to try to find the ramp. Once inside, she entered into a completely different wing of the theater on the second floor compared to her friends who had entered in through the first floor lobby. After some time, they met up, and when it was time to purchase a ticket, Alyssa encountered her second barrier. Her power wheelchair was not in reach of the ticketing counter, so her friend had to physically pick her up and place her on the counter so she could show her ID and purchase a ticket independently. Then, once inside the theater, Alyssa's only accessible seating option was at the very back of the theater, completely isolated from her friends who had seats in the front rows. Alyssa felt belittled and invisible that day. When arts agencies consider all individuals, there's an outpouring of gratitude from the community. I've spoken with families that have attended sensory-friendly performances, which are performances designed for individuals with autism or other sensory sensitivities. And many of these families can't even remember the last time they felt welcome to step into the theater. Some of these families don't remember the last time they had the opportunity to even take a photo all together. Even Broadway performers notice a difference in the energy of the space when everybody's been considered. When the Durham Performing Arts Center did their very first sensory-friendly performance of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas the musical, I had the opportunity to speak with these performers. And these top-notch Broadway stars who perform multiple shows a day recall this special sensory-friendly performance as the most meaningful and memorable performance of their career with the best audience they've ever had. Think about that impact. Creating accessible spaces isn't beneficial just for one party. It's good for everybody. And this is why we must continue to advocate for these types of programs. Programs that promote inclusion, diversity, acceptance of differences, they will not be cut from our society. As famous playwright Oscar Wilde once said, "I regard the theater as the greatest of all art forms, the most immediate way in which a human being can share with another the sense of what it is to be a human being." Well, what does it mean to be a human with a disability if your only seating option in the movie theater is a completely isolated row? How do you enjoy the show with your friends and family? What about so many of our spaces that are just not well designed for individuals with physical disabilities? Some patrons might not even be able to get in your door. It's my hope that in the future, arts agencies develop a core value of inclusion. Agencies can do this simply by being flexible with their staff, patrons, and programming. For example, administrators can modify house rules to allow outside food in for dietary needs, or fidgets for stimulation. Some agencies might want to create a calming space so that when people become overstimulated, they can relax and unwind. That way they'll better enjoy the show. No matter what you do, just be creative. Don't be afraid to try something that benefits everybody. And if that's intimidating to you, consider partnering. Partner with professionals like therapeutic recreation specialists who are extremely knowledgeable in inclusive service delivery. But better yet, partner with the experts themselves, people with disabilities. Be willing to actively seek feedback from patrons with disabilities and critically evaluate your programming. In all of our consideration for diversity, somehow disability was left off the agenda. Consider how much money your agency is losing by not marketing to and accommodating patrons with disabilities. The number of people with disabilities will only continue to grow. And at any point, any temporarily able body can come into a new disability. So what are you doing to adjust for this growth? As Dr. Stuart Schlein of InFocus Advocacy says, it's not the individual that's disabled, but the environment that's not working for the individual and requires modification. If music truly is the universal language, what are you doing to make it universal? Thank you.